Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome everyone to your module 2 of the 3-month hands-on certification program in pharmacometrics and PKPD modeling using RSNLME. So today we will be covering a little further into the use of R for pharmacometrics, and we have Dr. Rajan back with us today, who will be walking you through into this new adventure of using R and plotting using the various features within R. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Rajan to start sharing his screen. Please make sure that you have your R consoles open. So if you would like, you can actually walk through step by step as Dr. Rajan is covering the material. Over to you, Dr. Rajan.
Thanks, Aruna. Welcome back, everyone, for today's discussion. A little further into R. So last 2 weeks, we are basically looking in terms of data wrangling, how to use R or data processing, pre-processing, basically. Whenever we start a pharmacometric project, so it's always our first job to make sure that we understand our data. Okay, how much we understand our data, your model or whatever the further exercise can be as good as that part only. That's why it's very critical to have the data wrangling skill as well as visualization, data visualization, the next important step. Okay, data visualization, you can see data visualization, just plots and graphs will say. There are, with your typical spreadsheet tool, we can make a plot. Definitely we can understand what the data looks like. But with R, what happens? Again, as I said, you are codifying, you are documenting, and whatever the plot you are getting, when you send the code across to your team member, they are also able to replicate. And if you are finding something interesting, which is relevant for the model, whatever we are doing, and the same thought process, your thought process is getting into code, and that code is received by your colleague, and they are also able to replicate and understand what you are seeing. How much ever you try to explain somebody like, okay, get this plot from spreadsheet like Excel, the other person might make it different because there are multiple ways of doing things. So that's why we will move into the next step of understanding understanding the dynamics of plotting. And especially we'll focus on these the important tool ggplot. It's a very famous or it's common tool used by pharmacometricians, and there is a workshop on ggplot on the journal Pharmacometric and System Pharmacology, CPT-PSP journal. There is a workshop on ggplot. You can refer. It's an open source open article and it's available free. Please have a look on that ggplot tutorial in the journal CPT-PSP. Okay, so once that tutorial came and accepted by pharmacometricians, we started training our students, our group, all in ggplot. Okay, so I have a library ready. Let me start. Okay, I'm activating my library. Basically, I've ran this code before starting this session. That's why you're seeing it. It's already done, and I will do all of this exercise for today using the Theophylline database, which is available within the R. Okay, so I'm attaching Theophylline data, and Theof is a little longer name. Let me make this name shorter by naming it into Theo. Okay, I'm naming into a R object called Theo. So you know what, if I give this command, what will happen, you know. So I'm able to just explore what is this theophylline data contains. Theophylline data contains subject, weight, dose, time of observations, and concentration. That is probably the plasma concentration is measured. So all that information I'm able to get about this data. So that's the first step in understanding what is there in the data. Then when you ask the structure, you can understand like your data can be numeric, sometimes alphabetical, sometimes characters, all that you are understanding. This may be a little repetition from the previous one, but I'm telling how will I just explore a data set. Okay, so how much the length of, what is the length of data, how big are the data. Sometimes, you know, as I mentioned in the previous presentations, sometimes the data will be too huge. Imagine I have encountered a data with like something like 50 million and 100 million rows. Okay, so you don't have to open a spreadsheet and go down and see what is the data, right? Just I'm asking, the question is length. What is the length of this particular data frame? Especially, I don't have to ask for the all columns. I'm saying Theo $subject. It basically brings you to one column and asking the length of one column. It says 132. We know the trick. 132 doesn't mean that 132 subjects are there, because this data is not like one row per subject. It has many rows of data per subject. So I'm asking the next question, length unique Theo $subject. Think about the logic. So I talked about the particular column. Here in that particular column, I just want to know length means basically counting, okay, from the beginning to end, counting the unique, unique items in that particular column. So the column will have numbers 1 to certain numbers, we don't know. And when I say unique, it is picking up only the unique number. Whenever it gets repeated in this, as in this case, you see 111. So the duplicated entries will not be counted. So that you are counting that unique numbers. If you start counting, you may end up getting the what is the number of individual. It says 12. Okay. Then other smaller, mean. Okay. Mean weight, I'm just asking Theo $weight. Fine. The next one, this one is, it's an histogram. It's a small plot function within basic R. When I say histogram, and the data frame is theophylline, Theo, and I'm asking the weight column. There is a column which contains the weight of the subjects. I'm asking the histogram, and this is the histogram I'm getting. Okay. But one problem with this kind of visualization, I've seen the number 12, that is 12 subjects are there, but this histogram is like counted everything, like all the weight entries in the data frame. This is, that's fine, but I want to know what is the weight distribution of these 12 individuals. So this is not correct, meaning the data frame has repeated entries, that is also counted, and histogram is skewed that way. So that's not right. So that means the problem is this data set is not useful for further analysis. So let me pick up the smallest version of the data set or the data frame. I call that as Theo short. Why I'm saying Theo short? It's a subset of data from the main data set. And using the data, I can do like further analysis in detailed manner. Because each subject covariates or demography, I want to explore in detail. So I don't want all the rows of information. Okay. So Theo short is a data frame which I'm going to create. It's a subset of the main data. So I'm using this line of command. line of code. What it says, it is taking the data Theo, whatever is the main data. I called the Theof data into Theo. That's why it's called Theo. Theof is subsetted with the square bracket. You can consider or assume the subsetting is happening, or in a language which we understand, you can, at least how I understand is, Theo short is a subset of a data set from the data from Theo, that is the main database. The square bracket I will start reading as in which. I will read whenever square bracket comes, I will read it as in which, like a language. So Theo short is a short database of theophylline in which the exclamation mark is dropping. Okay, please understand, the exclamation mark is dropping. So drop the duplicator in this particular column. You know, the Theo dollar subject is that particular column. All of this operation should happen in rows. So you see the all of this, whatever the commands I given, after that I gave a comma. Meaning when you have this square bracket, you have a comma, you are talking about rows and columns. Operations can happen in rows and columns. When I put all of this command and put a comma, before the comma, whatever happening, it's happening in the rows. Okay. So Theo short is a sub database of the data frame theophylline in which what is happening? Drop the duplicated in a column called Theo dollar subject, and all of this operation should happen in rows, in terms of rows. That's why the comma is here. Okay. That's how I try to explain to myself. Okay. Okay. When we do that, yeah, the Theo short, that particular data frame has been created. Theo short is here, and okay, this is what happened now. It has created a sub data frame of 12 number of rows, meaning that 12 unique individuals have been picked up. And with this one, whatever the calculations I do, it represents actual remove the duplicate ones. Even let me see, the mean dose is the information which has picked up from this 12. Oh, mean dose not found, meaning I have to define mean or Theo short dollar dose. Second. Let us run Windows as. Yeah. So now the short form of the data is giving me more insights for me, especially when I understanding the covariates, what we normally will call covariates or the variables, because when you look at the pharmacokinetic data many times, these features, right, the variables we will call in pharmacometric jargon as covariates normally. So it may have like multiple columns running to other physiological and other parameters, like biological parameters, other covariates, all that information will run into multiple columns. So when I want to really understand that particular covariates and the information on that, because which I'm going to use it further down when I'm going to modeling. So this particular subsetting of data is critical, and subsetting of data we will do in a very different ways depending upon our requirement. At least at this level, picking up all the first rows and keeping all the covariates in the particular row and processing further will help us to understand the data in a better way. Now let me do this one. Okay. So now what we have, the histogram is the actual representation of the weights that are distributed in this population. So all put together, it is not more than 12 now, right? So like this, we should be able to, imaginatively subset the data in the way we want. Okay. I just used that basic R code just to keep you thinking in terms of logic. But most of the data operations with deploy R codes, you can do much more comfortably. anyway, those who started from the basic R, always we love to use the code without any package. But once you have this deploy R, things are like super fast. So it says new Theo is a original data set filtered in terms of body weight, which is equal to this, and dose, which is equal to this particular value. Okay, so it is able to pick up a particular body weight, matching the data frame, subset of data frame, which is matching body weight of particular value, dose of particular value. So, and these filter options we have seen in the last, so we can go drill down deep and ask more questions. Why all these questions? Basically, we are trying to understand the data more clearly, because you may, when you look at the data, just concentrations versus data and maybe a particular variable, you want to look in terms of weight. Is there any difference in concentrations? In terms of gender, are there any difference in concentration? So then you may even subset according to the weight and look into the concentrations, peak and trough. Those kind of, all this operation should happen before even starting even any modeling work. Understanding the data, drilling down deep, dicing and slicing the data in all the possible way to understand the data is one of the important I would say responsibility of any pharmacometric model, understanding the data. Okay, so that's where R will come in handy. You can just imagine what kind of dicing and slicing and understanding, subsetting data, what way you want to do. All that is possible. These are all like those options to use the data wrangling codes and then do all those kind of operations. Okay. Okay. Theo weight arrange theophylline in terms of descent and weight. Okay. So what will happen by this particular code? So probably I want to, as the code says, I'm arranging the data as per the body weight. Okay. Okay. So this operation particularly, now you see it's painful because I did not use the Theo short data. So I'm having problem here. Okay. So if I have to do it little more decent to what I originally imagined. Okay. I want to, no, that is my question in my mind. I would just want to look at the body weight ranges from highest weight to lowest weight. The original data set, I look, it is able to do that, but I can't get the picture. Within this window, I should see the body weights in the descending order, but I'm able to say, okay, the lowest weight is 54, highest weight is 86. Okay, I may get some modeling ideas based on the body weight. I may have some other hypothesis I may generate. So looking at the data on all these dimensions, subsetting the data and plotting, we'll go there yet. But the looking at the data with all these subsetting options is absolutely critical for anyone to understand. Then this is one part. Many times the data will not come to you all that clean. Sometimes the data themselves will have a lot of errors and issues. So for doing that data cleaning itself, we may have to drill down the data, drill down through the data, what kind of errors we are there. All that can be managed with a decent level of data wrangling. Okay. Already I've shown you the ggplot. You have already used and you're pretty much comfortable there. But without any tools or any additional packages, what will happen? Plot, what I said is concentration versus time. Two columns, when I say Theo dollar concentration, this tilde means versus, okay? And Theo dollar time. The simplest way to ask for a code. Concentration versus time plot. Okay, we got a plot, but not so great. Like this, we can, or the base without any package, just by basic plot, we can't do very good or great plots. It's possible. Everything is possible. In the base plot itself, you can do wonderful plots, but you have to write each and every line of code, and it's up to you how much effort you want to put in adding those comments. Okay. Now what happened when I initially given some plasma concentration, the observations came up, then I made it like give me the blue color. It gave a blue color, and I'm asking, okay, give me some title. Okay, plasma concentration. Okay, it's a very rudimentary, basic level plot. Okay, and then definitely we can keep adding the features and make sure this plot is even up. What I say, when you send this plot to a publication, they should be able to accept it. That much quality also we can make it, but it's going to be a long way if you write on your own code. It's possible, but it's going to take a lot of time. That's how these packages like ggplot are really useful to make sure your plots and your options will become better, and your presentations will get one second. This go on behind. Okay, like this. Yeah. So now the ggplot, the last time when we used, we haven't used all the options within ggplot. We have, at least we touched the broad contours or outline of how the ggplot will look. So first line, you will say ggplot, and you have to talk about your data frame. What's the name of the data frame? This is a data frame I'm going to use. And aesthetics. Aesthetics are, which is, kind of function in that you define your main data sets, data points where you're going to plot, which you are going to plot. Time versus concentration, x-axis time, y-axis concentration, and color equal to subject. Meaning, in our data set, we have a column called subject, and it has like different numbers are there. So the color of these observations, your points, now you look at this particular data, what is happening, this particular plot, sorry, it is given a blue color for all the observations, all the points here. You can't really differentiate from patient to patient or subject to subject. So I'm telling the color should be used to differentiate this subject based on, I'm saying color is to be done based on the subject column. Subject column, that's where my numbers are there, 1 to 12 numbers are there. And this is like an additional feature wherein sometimes your concentration values, or sometimes they will come in like scientific format. We call scientific notations. It will come there because if you have multiple decimals are there, R will not handle too many decimals, and it will convert into scientific notation. That sometimes creates a problem in the plots. Okay, so that's what this option SciPy suppresses the scientific notation, because we don't want in scientific notation. Normal numeric format is fine. And this number of decimals you can accept, all that will be based on this n. That is your choice. And I'm saying, giving this basic first line of information. What is this? Is when my mentor said the ggplot, it is like having a canvas, a clear white canvas. And artists, when they draw like the full picture, the image or whatever you are seeing, it has actually multiple layers. Okay, there will be a skeletal figure structure will be there. Beyond that, you may add the next level of features. Then they may probably, once that is all done, then probably coloring will be done, and there may be multiple layers of coloring to get the requisite effect. And finally, the top layer will be given. When you see only one picture, but in that picture, various layers of information is hidden behind, and all that layers put together, you are getting the final output. This is how an artist draws a canvas. Okay, nothing to do with our pharmacometrics, but I'm telling that's how layer by layer they will add the information. Finally, you get to see the beautiful Mona Lisa drawing, something like that. So here also we can start, in terms of layer by layer, the basic information. Then in next layer, we add the next level of information. Then we keep adding the information till it's up to us how much information I want to add, how much uh, in terms of appealing, or in terms, anyway, we have a lot of ways to make it more appealing, the background and control of elements. A lot of elements are there, x-axis, y-axis there, font size, how they, where they are placed, all that is like kind of very tightly can be controlled. Every inch or even much smaller size square inch can be controlled by this kind of codes. Okay, I'm adding the information layer by layer. Okay, think that. So that means this is a basic line. You have to start with ggplot. You have to tell the function, okay, use the ggplot. This is data frame, and I'm saying geom line, meaning here I'm not saying, no, you can say the different way, geom point also. I'm saying geom line, meaning only lines will be there. That is going to represent the data. Xlab means your X label, basically, X-axis label. I'm giving time as well as unit. And then ylab is like your y-axis, what's the name and unit, because it's a good practice always to give your axis as well as the unit, so you won't have any later confusions. And I'm saying gg title, meaning the title of this particular plot. It's called Theophylline study. And then it's a big chunk of codes are there. How to make you understand what is this big chunk of code is like. Now, as I said, I will remove the layer by layer. We'll keep the basic version and then try to see how the plot looks. Okay, so first let me draw a very basic plot. I'm saying I'm given the basic information and observations given as a straight line, a lines. It's called geom line. Okay, now this is how the basic plot, the first level of plot looks like. Okay, you have xn automatically given. Okay, x and y axis are just given. It's not like the whatever we were giving customized names, but from the x and y, whatever you gave, it's given. Like concentration is y axis, time on the x axis, like that. And yes, it's a reasonable plot. Not so great, but reasonable plot. Okay. Now, when you are moving to the next layer, okay, now at least you have a very decent x and y axis label, plasma concentration, their units, and x and y axis label have become a little better. And next point is like, I have to run this code until this much. That is before plus. Plus is for the next line. So when I add plus and add the next line of code, that is adding the next layer. Okay, I'm just running up to this layer, like that you can think. So here I'm just added title. Okay, previously there was no good title, but title is there. But look at the title. Title is in some corner of the, at least on the top title row. Okay, now, so the whole lot of theme I've written. Theme people may not write all this many line of code, but I need this much line of code at least. Over a period of many months when I was learning, I practiced multiple lines of code I've attempted and tried to improvise the plot. Even this theme has built up over line by row by row. I've added whatever I liked. I added. Okay, so theme, it says panel grid major element blank. What this means? Here I have to close this one and let me keep. Okay. Okay, here what happened, compared to the previous plot, carefully look what happened. In the grid lines, the major grid lines, this is called major, they are all like disappeared. And I know I have only very few that the grid line size has become bigger. That's what happening. This is what happening at this line of code. Okay. Okay. So it's helping a bit, but not great. Okay. Now, so like this, if I go on a panel grid minor, panel grid major, panel background, element blank, element blank, element blank, meaning that particular element will become blank, meaning it will disappear. And plot title, here I'm something, you see, plot title, element text, H just, that means you can actually adjust the horizontal, where it is appearing in horizontally. I'm saying 0.5. That means approximately it will be in the middle. If you say 0.1 on one side, 0.8 or 9 on the other. 0.5 is horizontal, your justification, just is justification, adjusting. Horizontal justification is 0.5, mean keep it in the middle. Okay, legend position. So I'm not, even though this is colorful lines, still I'm not able to really see this color for which number and all. I'm not very keen to have the legend which is there. I'm saying I'm not very happy to have the legend. Happily, I'll remove that legend also. So until that much, we'll go and see what's happening. What is the improvement happening to this part? Okay. So I've seen like the grid and title. I'm going to adjust. Title I'm going to adjust, as well as the legend position. Null means basically I'm saying I don't want any legend because it's not of great help to me. So at that level of code or the additions, what's happened? See, the grids are disappeared. The background has become blank. So that I can actually, the background color, the gray color is disturbing my viewing of this particular data set. If you carefully look now, actually it's better viewed than that gray color background, right? And the legend is like a kind of distraction for me. I did not like it, so I removed it. Oh, okay, little better. Okay, so then if I want to, continue my layering journey, comma, I'm just continuing. Plot margin, it is to be something. Then axis text X. That means X-axis, the name, what is the text color. You see, text the color, what color it should be, what size it should be. It's controlled in X-axis. Same thing for the Y-axis. And then axis title, title itself. Okay, here axis text means what exact it is. This numbers, right? You have X and Y axis elements, those elements number. They will become the axis text element. And the title means axis titles. So that is, I've given little larger, that's for a better viewing. And axis line, the how thick the line should be. The axis line is very thin, means you can even control. And then what is that? Yeah, line type, I need a solid line on the X and Y axis. I have to separately give axis line X, axis line Y. That is also very tightly controlled. Okay, this many layers I've added to my theme. Okay. Then, yeah, now the whole, you have basically understood what I've done with this many line of codes in this particular plot code. Okay, so I don't know, it's very, when it comes to this plot, this color, this one, it's all everybody's their perception, right? I feel this is good for me because removing all the grids and background color reduces the distraction. I can see my data very clearly. And X and Y axis named, labeled, controlled, plus unit also properly given. And then individual, anyway, this data is clear and the title is nicely given in the center. This for me, it looks better. And if I want to discuss with somebody also, I feel I'm confident that this data will communicate what I wanted to communicate. So in that sense, I'm comfortable with this plot. This is my style. I will share the code anyway, but it's highly, it's very subjective. What may look good to me may not. So that's where you have to use your artistic skill. How your plot and data, everything should look. It's up to you. Here, I think legend, other controls view, other additional options being added, plot margins. Okay, just this I'm okay. What is happening? Instead of I'm saving it as theoplot. Okay, and that has been saved as an R. It's not like every time plot is running. It is saved as an R object. Okay, your plot is an R object. The code, everything is run. If I want to look at a code, then I have to run this theoplot separately. Okay, here I've done one small addition here. If you look, rather than I've given geo point and as well as geom line. Okay, that one makes the data points are clear, at least what points this data has been taken, and for me it looks a little better than the previous one. And I'm saved it as an R object. Okay, there actually every time I run, you can see the plot here, but it is not saved as an R object every time. So once you save it in as an R object, okay, so why I want to save this as an R object is like, for example, this particular option I want to do. Normally when we go for like further publication or communication of results, we wanted to have all this information in a particular level of resolution. Okay, so you can use TIFF option, or other options are available. TIFF is one of the good option. So I'm going to generate a TIFF plot, TIFF version of this particular plot, and then I want to make sure that this TIFF plot is saved somewhere. So, and my pathway is that this is my folder I'm using. I'm calling it as theoplot because already there is a plot from previous session. Theoplot1.tif, and I'm actually telling that plot what is a width and height, and the unit is in inches. How many inches? Basically, you can tell in a print when you take that clarity. 8 inches width, 4 inches height, and resolution. You may know this term called dot per inch, or DPI. We call dots per inch, pixels, 300 pixels on 400 pixels, 600 pixels, like that, depending upon our requirement. We will.
Rajan, I'm sorry.
Is it breaking? Sorry.
Yes, your voice is going in and out, and I think we also have a couple questions.
Okay.
I know Srinivas has his hand up. I just want to make sure that.
Sure.
So Srinivas, I'm going to unmute you. Please go ahead and ask the question.
Thank you, Aruna. Thank you very much. Good evening, Rajan. This is Srinivas.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. Please.
Yeah, okay. Actually, regarding this ggplot, so can we create a separate panel within this panel for especially for the time points 0 to 1 hours, because there is a very clumsy is there, no?
Okay. In the sense, what you are asking is like 0 to 1 hours. You need a separate.
Panel, separate panel that should be present in this graph itself, so that we can see the values.
It's like a plot within a plot, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, possible. So what we will do, what you have to do is go back to the logic. So you have a data which is imagine from 0 hours to 24 hours. But within 0 to 1 hour, you have a concentration or some set of data which you want to separately look in detail. Okay, that's your point, right?
Yes.
That means we should have a subset of data. Main data is there, this one, plus another subset of data. Okay, another subset of data which is subsetted based on the time. What the data which is below 1 hour. Okay.
Okay.
And then when you have this data within 1 hour, you may also want to have the breaks, right? Where you want to break. What is your, where is your, where really, what kind of breaks you want. For example, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, or every 10 units, 0.1, like that, we can give, if your data is like that, then you can give this finer, the points, breaking points also, breaks also. Then you do a plot. You do 2 separate plots. Then what we can do is we can create a panel, panel of plots in which side by side we can keep side by side. We can keep the plots. If you feel like no, this is how my current data, my data looks like, and if you are comfortable placing this particular plot within this plot, if it adds clarity, we can attempt that. But normally what we can do is this one, horizontal panel, vertical panel, we can create actually. Okay. Then next panel, another of the same size or different size, you can create this subsetted data plot, which is representing only within 1 hour. Okay. So that will be seen clearly. That is an option I can immediately think of, because I never put plot inside plot. It is possible. It is not impossible. It's possible. But if that has more clarity to that, the smaller data, you can add this way. Otherwise, you add another panel in the in the next small plot. Put all them in one panel. Okay. We can have similarly. There is a way to add multiple panels. Boxes like 2 row, 2 column boxes, 2 row, 3 column boxes, like that. We can have like various subset of data. If you want to present it differently, you can do that as well. But it's all depends upon there in that subsetting the data and bring that in another layer, add as a small plot.
So I guess, Rajan, there are some questions that participants have. Manish Sharma would like to ask a question from the previous assignment. The reason I'm bringing it up is if they are not clear about the previous day one of the assignment, then they may not be able to learn further from what we are covering today. So Manish, if you raise your hand, maybe we will be able to unmute you. All right, so let me unmute. Accept the prompt, Manish.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, I attempted 2 questions for previous day 1 module 2.
Okay.
Different commands. And then second question, clearance related questions. That male and
clearance related question. Okay.
Female and male. Can you open say this? So that 60% and 40% male and female. That question was asking me. So, sir, I put it the command, but it was not executed. I put the command.
Okay.
For average, sir, can I open this? Can you open this question?
Oh, you want to share the screen?
Manish, maybe we want to take this question at the end of the workshop. Okay, it might require a little more work than.
Yeah.
If this question is currently relevant to what we are covering, then we will discuss it now. If not, we'll take the questions at the end of the workshop.
Yeah, for more questions, we can do it together. Not a problem.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
And if anyone has any clarification question regarding what is being covered right now, please raise your hand and we will be able to address your questions. I don't see any raised hands or anything in the chat window. So I guess we are doing awesome. Everybody's understanding exactly what we are covering. That's great. Go ahead, Rajan. Sorry for interrupting you there.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
So Rajan, just one request. Your voice is sometimes going in and out. So if you can just be watchful of it.
Yeah, sure. I just came a little bit away from the mic, I think. Okay. Now is it clear, right? Hope it is clear now. Right? I'll keep this. No problem. So
thank you, Rajan.
Okay, thank you. So what we did in that previous this particular line of code is like, I'm running my that particular ggplot. I'm not directly printing it here, but I'm converting that into an object for further processing. So what is the process? So this will be an important one many times we have to face, especially when we generate the plots and then finally we may have to submit somewhere, maybe for review, maybe for conference presentations, or even publications. And many times, especially the publication or even the conferences, there is a requirement that your plot should be of certain resolution. They call it 300 dpi, 400 dpi. The minimum for any scientific journal will be 300. That's a requirement, and upwards, depending on their requirement, they do that. So how do we generate the data? Is you have seen that the way we run a ggplot, you can run and that convert into an object. Like theoplot is an object created, and then what I'm doing is I'm going to convert this into a TIFF, JPEG, TIFF, various kind of options are there, formats are there. I'm comfortably using TIFF format. Okay, I'll use the TIFF format. So I'm going to generate a TIFF format, and then I have to tell the path or the specific place where I want to place this particular high resolution image. And I'm also telling if you actually print a real this particular plot with the size 4 and 4/8 inches, and it will have a resolution of 300 pixels. Okay, that's line of, you can increase, it's up to you, can make it 600, you can increase the size, width, it all depends how much you want, depending upon your requirement. If it is a publication, this more or less this particular size will do. That's where the journals will fit this kind of plots. And then sometimes you may have to do for a conference, a huge one, you want a lot of information is there in one particular plot, but you want a bigger one, you can increase the size and play around and make sure that it is having high resolution. Okay, that's done, and resolution is like it's option to us. And once that is given, I'm telling you have to do all these things to this particular object, our object that's called theoplot. And once that is done, I'm saying device off. Okay, this particular TIFF device will be switched off, meaning like the whole that particular operation should be completed and closed. Okay, let me do this. I have theoplot already ready. I run the theoplot. I'll just do the safe side. Let me run. Okay, so I'm creating that object. It is there with me ready, and I'm going to do this particular operation of creating a high resolution image of 300 pixels. Okay, it says yes, that's done and it's completed, and I can go to that particular folder. Okay, desktop. Training, and that is theoplot 1. This just now it's produced. I already have that plotted from other experts. Yeah, this is a plot generated by this particular operation of high resolution image. And if you can expand and look at the data, if you can expand it further, you can see how much I can expand without losing the clarity. Okay, so many times the journals will require this much level of resolutions we are able to generate. Okay, that's one additional feature will help you. Okay, this is one way of looking at the data, drilling down at the data, looking at the individual, looking at on various covariates and plots. Similarly, the plasma concentration profile is our heart and soul of our main of our analysis, but you can also plot various other covariates against whatever other variable you want. All that, it's very important to spend time with the data before doing anything else to the model, because many times when you do the plots, we are lucky to have this kind of plots, very nice data arranged, Cmax, Ctref, and it's like a pharmacometrician dream to have like such a nice data. But you will find in real life, when you get the data will be noisy. There will be like some unexpected very high values, low values, or the values which are not supposed to be there in that particular time point, it will be there. All that way you can note all this point, and you can raise the question back to the whoever has given you the data. What is this data? What that means? From which patient it has come? It could be simply instead of 2.3 they are typed as 23. That's possible, and your maximum Cmax is like 10 for all the patients. One particular Cmax is something like 23. Something like that. These kind of issues will crop up during our initial assessment. So it's very important for all of us to have this data wrangling as well as data visualization skill. Okay, another funny part or other fun work I'll show you. Next trick in the sleeve. So here now you have so many subjects, like 12 subjects. Even looking at the data, I'm getting reasonable clarity. I'm fine with this. So I can reasonably get the idea about the data. Imagine you have like not 12 but 1200 patients. Okay, you look at the data, it will like line over line, line over line. You will never understand how the patient data really looks like. You will see a thick line of 1,000, 1,200 or 1,200 lines you are going to see. Okay, so that's not going to help. So what we do is actually plot the individual. You may wonder 1,200 or that many number of patients you want to manually go through and see the data. Yes, we will check. Data is like, data is very critical. And if I feel the data doesn't make sense, when I look at the data somewhere like, some data doesn't make sense, probably I will go through that particular individual and make a plot and see. Otherwise, like if I have like multiple hundreds of patients, I want to go through them once and see. I mean, we'll do that also. Okay. So in that case, I want to make unique plots for the PK profile which we have now. Okay. That means it's going to be 12 different plots. Okay. And how I'm going to do that? And 12 every time I'll run the code for one subject and do. It's 12 patients. Even if you want to do, you can do then repeat the code by subject. But if I have 1200, 120, multiple hundreds, that means I should be able to do using a loop, for in loop, kind of for loop, we'll call for loop functions, or repeatedly do a particular function with a single line of code. So I'm giving the plot and I will try to explain here. So as you understand, it says PDF, meaning I'm going to generate a PDF of plots. The pathway is given. The path where I'm going to save this particular that particular plot is given, and I'm calling it as Theo plot 1 because I have another plot, the same name, Theo plot 1. So how this plot has to operate and work is for I in unique Theo dollar subject. That means for every individual, I in when I say this, for every individual, every unique individual in this particular column, Theo dollar subject, meaning, you go to the data and think, have like 1 to 12, there are 12 numbers are there. And in that, when you say the entire row, I'm saying unique, individuals or subjects or whatever. So for I in unique, you pick up that unique individuals in those unique individuals, your main data is there, ggplot, with the, I'm doing a subset. Subset what? Whatever is the main data, I'm taking it and subsetting it based on the subject. Okay, Q of dollar subject equal to I. I means basically it will go unique, read and get the labels ready, 1 to 12 ready. That means in this particular column, for each of these individuals, it has to subset the data. That means 12 subsets of data will be created, something like that. 12 subset of data will be created. We have 12 individuals, 12 subsets of data. And for this data, you can, the aesthetics you can define now, that is the time versus concentration. And then I need a geom line, geom point, all my beautification process, everything will happen. But for all these individuals separately, it will happen. And it's not going to create a plot here. Rather, I have so many plots, so I will store it somewhere in a PDF format. Okay? Because TIFF also, if you do, like, it's going to take time, and let me do with PDF files. So I'm going to create a PDF file for every unique individual in that particular column. And for that, I have to take a main data set, subset, and do the entire operations 12 times repeatedly and get this particular plots. Okay, that's what happening in this. Otherwise, every other codes, you're comfortable now. Okay, done. So let us go back. Geoplot 1. This is a PDF file. Just now it's created. Yeah. Okay. Now the title also automatically picked up whatever the individual person's number. That number is kept as that particular plot's title. Now look, that is patient number 1. Patient number 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I used to do this kind of plot. I have a certain subset of patients, 300 patients. I just do and manually go through them because it's very critical project. I want to understand. There may be certain patients for some reasons will show very different profile, and we can't ignore that because there may be a reason. Or when I pick that kind of different this kind of profile, there may be a reason, like a different covariate or a genetic polymorphism or something. They show very different profile. Now I can make it very clear who is what, whose Cmax is higher. Like this, I can generate these unique plots. By this exercise, I'm able to get a very clear picture of all of this data set. But anyway, I've just used 12 data sets for an example. If the data set is like 100, 200, multiple hundreds, then all these tools will help you to understand what exactly we are trying to do here. We want to understand all the data and look at the data in a way we want, whatever way we want, in terms of, let it be numerically, we want to look at the data, or even visualize in a visual format. We want to look at the data and generate not only for the outcome, even for our internal analysis before starting a detailed model, we can understand the data visually and as well as numerical and all the other aspects. That's how it's very critical for us to get familiarity with both these data wrangling as well as data visualization. That's the aim of this whole 2 weeks module. And for experts, I think there are experts here. Please, excuse me for giving a very basic work, but that's what, this is what is a good start for anybody who want to get in this direction. So without, getting into, there are more complicated ways of analysis, and R can do wonders by itself. Lot of things can be done, but the simplest applications, this data wrangling and plotting, is our aim. And yeah, I think that's pretty much we have for this week, and we can start discussing the clarifications and doubts now.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Rajan, for the detailed explanation. We don't have any questions at the chat panel, maybe we can give the participants a chance to raise their hands so that we can let them ask their doubts regarding this session first, and then maybe we can take over the questions regarding the previous assignment.
If
So
there are any
participants,
questions here, this particular set of exercises, we'll finish it first, and then I think Manish has a question. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, sure, Doctor. So participants, if you have any questions related to ggplot, kindly raise your hands so that you can directly ask it to Dr. Raj.
Yeah, I'll share this script page with you all. And maybe based on this line, another set of data I'll be able to share with you, and we'll give homework based on that data set. You have to modify these codes to fit into the new data set accordingly. You can do all this, similar analysis and come out with your own plots and analysis.
So Rajan, do you think we should give Manish a chance to share a screen and ask his question?
Yeah, sure. I think if there are no questions now, we can go to Manish's question for sure.
Yeah, hold on a second. Manish, I want you to be ready to be able to share your screen and stuff. Are you able to do that? I'm giving you permission to be able to share your screen.
Madam, can sir explain the questions, because I didn't get everything, so that if sir can give some idea, so then I can ask some questions related to second exercise.
Okay.
Sir can give some basic.
Yeah, sure. I understand your question, Manish. So what's your question is like when actually last week somebody discussed this particular point, how to have like 100 subjects, in that 60% should be male, 40% should be female, like that. That's a question asked, and how to get that kind of ratios. Okay. I remember it's Sandhya. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Sandhya. She has randomly picked up 60 males and 40 females. Okay. Manish, before giving my answer, I will tell one thing. So even I don't have to know any code. I'll just ask how to, in a Google or Stack Overflow, the question is basically how to randomly pick up 60 male and 40 female in a group of 100 subjects. That's in R, like that. If we ask, there will be a lot of, there is going to be a lot of similar lines of questions where you will randomly pick up the numbers and how the code will look like. There will be a lot of examples will be there. So whether you are able to see this particular screen now.
Yes, Dr. Rajan.
Others,
we're able
Manish,
to see your screen.
So see, look at this line of code 315, and this is a very simplest way. For example, 30 subjects are needed, 15 is enough each. So just we create 15 males, 15 females. Yeah, that's the simplest way. If you have 50-50 numbers, 50-50 option. Other way is like gender, sample male and female. How many samples total needed? 30 is needed. And replace true means we are repeatedly sampling from the same set. That's what it means. Replace true means again and again it will sampling from male and female option. Probability is 0.5 and 0.6. Okay, so let us first see this what happens. Gender. Okay, So now the gender has been created. What's happening? What happened in this gender? That particular data vector. Now you have a vector. So it says like male, female are randomly picked up, and it adds up to 30. Now your interest is like one particular group, maybe male, you wanted more. So what will I do is like, I'll put this way, 0.6. Total should be 1, total probability is 1. So I'll put this way now. What this one says is like male and female, but in the ratio of 60% male, 40% female. Okay, how good this particular code is able to generate that particular vector. Yeah, we have to count and see. Yes, looking like more females are okay. If you want to see it easily, like let me put this 0.8 male and 0.2 female. Okay. Yeah, pretty much now it's predominantly male. So this is one way. This is one way. Like what happened? So you are sampling randomly, with a particular probability, that is 0.8 and 0.2, 80% male and 20% female. This way you can generate this random, pick up those random sample and use in your population. If I want to have like 100, it's going to happen the same way. Then it's going to be a lengthy vector of 100 subjects having like 80% males and 20% females. Yes. So that's one way we can randomly generate, and this is one way. There are multiple ways of doing anything in R. Is that clear, Manish? Hello.
Yes, Dr. Rajan. Manish is replying in chat.
Yes,
Manish.
Okay, fine. So
yes, sir. Got it, sir. Got it, sir. Probability I didn't put it. What's the probability we should put in the last?
yeah,
Added this command. Just got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure. Yeah, data set generation is another important skill set for all your variety of simulations. You will have to generate data set, data wrangling, this kind of data set generation for the required need, and then data visualization, as we discussed today. All this, is just a beginning. I would say for all of our journey, it's just a beginning, and the options are, what we see is like you scratch the surface, but anyway, you scratched good, I would say. If you have all this skill set, you are good to start. At least by next week, you'll be ready to start with RSNL, NLME, and with, I think, PKPD related concepts by Surge. I think you have those concepts also ready. I think you are kind of ready to jump into RSNLME now. And I'll send the homework assignment for this week with some plots. It will be simpler, don't worry. But anyway, you have to modify the codes according to the needs. Okay.
Dr. Rajan, we have one question from Srinivas.
Srinivas, yeah, please.
Srinivas, you're unmuted.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you very much. Rajan, thank you very much for your detailed explanation. It's really helpful for those who are beginners and all. So yeah, thank you very much for your wonderful explanation and all. So regarding this ggplot, so I need some more request from your end. Okay. So right now you have created the ggplot for based on individuals, right? For example, you mentioned that 16 individuals or 100 individuals, and you created this file in some PDF file already. You saved your that Windows and all. So is it instead of every individual you have shown in one page? One PDF page, right? So I hope we can see the multiple individual graphs, I mean, multiple, graphs in one sheet, right? Can we?
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. No, that is one way. So that means you are subsetting your question the same way. You go back to the data, subset the data, generate the plots, and put them in the panel.
Okay.
Remember the word panel, and vertical and horizontal rows of what should be the size of panel. If it is like imagine 100, you are asking for 10 by 10 panel, right?
Yes. Yes.
10.
Yes.
So that's possible. That's absolutely possible. That is, you don't have to even go to save it in PDF. If you want to visualize, we can, but that means subset the data, generate the plots, and name them individually, and create those plots as a panel. It's possible. And 10 by 10 plots, a 10 by 10 panel.
Yeah.
That's possible. I haven't done here, but this is a logic. This is how it should happen. We have to look for the codes. That's all. If you ask me, I'll definitely go into the Google and look for the code example. And one thing, honestly, I have to admit is that, not me, everybody, we may not know all the codes for all the problems.
Yes, practice.
Only thing is, we will know how to ask a question.
Yes.
And what kind of background, for example, this problem, I said, subsetting the data, plot it individually, and put them in a panel of 10 by 10. That's steps you have to do. For these steps, what are the codes needed? Now I'll very specifically look into those codes and pick up them and put in a particular function and finish it, run it. So that's a.
Thank you, Rajan. Thank you very much. In future, suppose if we have any doubts or any queries, can we have your email ID or phone number?
Yeah, sure. We'll share with. You might have already got maybe. Otherwise, I'll share with the group anyways. So
thank you, Rajan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Srinivas.
Participants, if we have any questions, we can take it right now regarding ggplot or previous week assignments. If we don't have any questions, so we'll wind up for the day. And a general reminder for all the participants is from next week, we'll start with RSNLME. So please make sure you're ready and installed with the RSNLME. The recordings are already have been sent to your mail IDs, and there is also PDF document available. Kindly go through it and please make sure you're ready for the RSNLME workshop.
Thank you, Rajan, and thank you everyone for being here and attending the workshop today. We will be sending you the details for today's homework and would love for you to have all of that completed before we move into RSNLME. I hope all of you have gotten your downloaded RSNLME. If you have not, please let us know. I'm going to try to schedule at least one more time that we can have this RSNLME download workshop. It's pretty simple, but we'll try to schedule at least one early next week so you actually have set up and are able to go through the workshop assignments. So that's all for today. Thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday.